Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at a new devblog once again for the next major update. I feel like this dev season has just been so long compared to others, but I'm sure the update will be out soon, probably next week would make the most sense. And now it's time to have a look at a new battleship, the Lorraine, that is coming in for the French. This is a pretty interesting machine, and right now it is going to be the highest vehicle in the Blue Water tech tree for the French, and it's going to be at rank 5, and also is kind of an interesting one, very much an older design compared to some, but with a modern refit. As always, let's get into the history of this machine. In 1912, France issued an ambitious shipbuilding program for the construction of 17 new battleships, 3 of which were immediately funded. The lack of the necessary shipbuilding infrastructure to start building ships with a longer hull than the current Corbeil-class dreadnoughts forced the Naval Council to acquiesce in the same displacement for new ships, but the main caliber artillery was increased from 305 to 340 millimeters. All 3 ships of the series, the leadership Bretagne, the Province, and the latest Lorraine, were assigned to the 1st Battle Squadron. During the First World War, the ships operated in the Mediterranean, but did not take an active part in the battles. In the interwar period, battleships became part of the Atlantic Fleet. By the time the Second World War began, all 3 ships were part of the High Seas Forces, or the Forces de Haute Mer, and were based in Toulon. After the surrender of France, the Battleship Lorraine was disarmed in Alexandria, but remained part of the fleet. In 1942, the crews of the ships interned in Alexandria became part of the Free French Fleet, and the ship provided fire support to Allies liberating France. After the end of the war, she was used as a stationary artillery training ship until 1947, when it was decommissioned and used for some time as a floating barracks, finally sold for scrap in 1953. So the Lorraine itself is looking pretty fun. The major thing about a lot of these French naval forces that I'm seeing when it comes to Blue Water Fleet is a lot of them have a lot of firepower. Whether it is the amount of guns or whether it's what's in the explosive mass of many of the rounds. They hit like a truck, but in some of the other areas, unfortunately, they kind of fall apart. And that, unfortunately, is one of the issues the Lorraine has. The Lorraine has great firepower. It has 8 340mm guns in dual sets, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. It has great high explosive fragmentation shells, which are really nice, and also has some AP shells with and without a ballistic cap. It also has a ton of auxiliaries with the 138mm, and also, since this is a mid-World War II refit, it has a bunch of 40mm on it and also a bunch of 20mm, so it'll be able to protect itself from the air. One of the problems, though, is even though this is a battleship with very large guns, the armor on it is nowhere near the level compared to many other machines that are around the place. The main armor belt it only goes up to 250mm, and the thickness of the armor deck is only 40mm. The main turrets have 300mm of armor on the front, but that's basically it. You know, it's not something that's crazy well armored. And the ammo that is for these large guns, which is located beneath them, there's pretty much no armor covering them at all. So basically, it will be very easy to pop these machines if you want to. It doesn't have a huge crew either, which it only has 1,187, where if you compare that to a lot of other machines, that is quite low as well. So the guns on this thing will hit very well. You know, they'll be able to do a lot of damage, they'll be able to fire, you know, a decent amount of shells and will be good, but the actual survivability of this thing is incredibly low. So the fact is, I don't know how many times it will be able to get off shots in a lot of engagements before it just gets nuked. It doesn't have any torpedoes or any additional stuff, but that's fine. You know, that's like a lot of other vehicles. And at the same time, until stuff gets built around the French Blue Water Tree, you have a lot of kind of holes in it, and one of them is at, the highest echelon. You have this vehicle here, which is a pretty good one. It works all right. But if this thing gets annihilated, which there is quite a large chance it will do because of that lack of armor and also lack of survivability, what'll end up happening is it just won't be able to do too much. So that will kind of suck, because your only backup is the Paris, and guess what? The Paris has exactly the same issues as this one, apart from it doesn't have as good of an armament on it, so you'll just kind of get bullied. This, I believe, on the dev server was at 6.3, which I suppose makes sense for it. And I don't think it really should be any higher. If it does go higher than that, then the 7.0s are just going to make mincemeat of it. Because even though this thing is a battleship, it is nowhere near the caliber of many that we already have in the game. Will it still be fun to play? Yeah, of course, because these things do tank a decent amount of damage, and also the main guns will mean that you'll be able to just hammer somebody every once in a while, and it will be really nice. But also at the same time, is it as good as the competition? The answer is definitely no. I think a lot of the French fleet that exist would be actually pretty fun to play. And the major issue they have is the targeting speed on the guns, but everything else is pretty standard, and also they hit like a truck. So if this is kind of like the end of the tech tree, I feel like the cruisers and also the destroyers will be much more fun to play than these battleships which are here right now. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they are a lot more fun than I'm thinking, but my guess is they won't be, which will be kind of sad. But with the 130s that you have on a lot of the destroyers, with the 138s that you also have on them, and then the 155s on the cruisers, you have a ton of firepower on them to have a bit of fun for. But the issue is, if the end of the tech tree is the Lorraine, and you're pushing towards that to try and, grind it out and have fun, the question is it worth it? And I don't think it is. Just because of the lack of survivability. As I said, I'm hopefully wrong about this vehicle. Maybe it will pull something out of the hat, but at this time of playing with it on the dev server, having a look at it and going through it, I don't think I'm wrong about this, which unfortunately is kind of sad. Remember, the update will probably be out soon, so if you want to get access to the French CBT for the Blue Water stuff, you do have to buy one of the packs that's on the store. They'll probably have kind of a grinding thing like the Testing Stars event that they do with all new tech trees, but if you want to get access to it day one, you'll have to pick up one of the packs. And I think it will be good to get into these. If you are a Blue Water fan, or if you are a naval fan in general, these vehicles will offer something slightly different to what you've seen before. Instead of just, rapid fire or, slightly worse vehicles than others, there is quite a lot to look forward to with this French Blue Water Tree. And hopefully in the future, what we'll also see is some coastal stuff, so the lower echelons can be covered as well. There is also a ton of expansion that can come to the French Blue Water Tree as well. A bunch of destroyers, a bunch of really interesting cruisers, and also battleships and battle cruisers. So hopefully we see those as well, so people can enjoy them. This is just kind of, I suppose, a taste of this to see if people are interested. And if enough people buy into it, then more development will come down the pipeline. Or at least that's what you hope when it comes to parts of the game. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Cupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R., and Lafouche for supporting the channel.